guys. You ready to let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out. You know, like, who let the dogs out? Who?
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Welcome. It is a Monday. Thank you, Amanda LaFratta, and all of the good people that filled in for me. A couple of days off. Enjoyed that during the off week, but the off week's over. Let's get rolling. An 8-week gauntlet of football as the Vols will play LSU, and it gets rolling. Pretty tough schedule. Crazy already with us saying good morning, folks. Let's have a day. We will. And Crazy, I'm sorry that your emails went to spam and it took so long to get your shirts, but we saw them looking for another email, and we'll get them to you. And Amanda, are you okay? Sounds like things fell. But Amanda LaFratta, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I'm doing well, as long as I didn't break anything just now. How are you? We missed you on Thursday and Friday, so we're glad you're back.
Thank you. And I want to tell you, you did a fantastic job, and we want to thank Chris Landry, and we certainly want to thank Caleb Calhoun for pitching in the hand, and a lot of developments over the weekend in the SEC that pertain to Tennessee that I want to get to. One thing I hate is when talk show hosts take a break and then come talk about something afterwards, because news is news and it moves on. But I do want to take a second to address the Tua Tagovailoa situation. It is absolutely despicable what the Miami Dolphins did. The fact that he was even in that game. Listen, it was a concussion issue. It was a neurological issue on the Sunday before the Thursday game. You can call it a back if you want to, but even if it's a back that bad, you shouldn't play 4 days later. These are the same Dolphins that supposedly went to their head coach at one point and offered him money to lose games so they could get a higher pick. It is dastardly. It is pathetic. People should be fired. If I'm Tua Tagovailoa's agent, I've already been fired. Tua should do that right now. He should be looking out for his client and not the next contract, which apparently he was. I understand a lot is on the line for Tua. This is his make or break year. I get all that, but I don't think we have to look any further than Junior Seau to find somebody that dealt with depression and dealt with issues later in his life. That is much, much, much bigger than any Thursday night game. I was very disappointed in the sport I love. It was one of those where I even considered, hey, I might just hop on and host the show, but I do believe it's important to take breaks. So that being said, we shall move on to the innocent saying team doctor should be fired. Crazy saying same Dolphins that got caught tampering as well. That is just, okay, so I'm going to go a little bit further and then I'm going to move on. The NBA has taken away ownership of franchises for racially insensitive or all-out racist comments. I would have no problem if the NFL wanted to take that direction. Now, they're not going to, because it's a bunch of billionaires that look out for one another. But the NFL is held in high esteem, higher than the NBA. And I'm fine with just cutting that off and selling that franchise to somebody else. I just was really, really bothered by it. And Amanda did a great piece that you can check out on offthehooksports.com. Good morning, Chris. And we talked to a couple of Tennessee players, what they thought about it. And Cooper Mays said on that story, if you would like to read it, it's kind of like people that are deciding whether or not their kids should play football. I don't know. And then also Jacob Warren saying he's glad that people in his office have his back, and they do, I believe. So, yeah, as a parent, yeah, I mean, who would not, Amanda, look at that and say, I mean, my mom, for instance, when my son played football for 2 or 3 years, she was like, "Oh, you don't really want him to play football." I mean, have you seen the Will Smith movie, Concussion? And, uh, yeah, I had, and I thought that we had moved on past that, and there were safety protocols, and there were actually a couple of instances in which I thought that people placed winning a little league football game over a kid's health, and so it's 2022, folks. So, Amanda, that's my rant.
No, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. The, you know, the way that was handled was disastrous. And they could say it's a back injury, and I understand that. And even, Coach Landry came on and said that those two things do present themselves as, looking the same, concussion or back injury, the wobbly kind of thing. Those present themselves as looking pretty much the same thing. But I think after we saw Thursday night what happened and the posturing that Tua did after he took that hit, we all know that it was a mistake. It was messed up. They did fire the doctor, the independent, I think, neurological
Good.
consultant or whatever he was. He's been fired for basically botching that whole thing. But my issue also with this is not only it's not falling on the shoulders of one guy. This isn't one guy's mistake. I mean, yes, he should be fired, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot more heads that need to roll on that Miami Dolphins organization. Yes.
Have you seen the movie Any Given Sunday?
Yes.
They kind of botched it. They had a good cast, and it was an okay movie. It could have been a great movie, but I think James Woods, like people say I look like, James Woods played the doctor that was supposed to clean everything up. And, at some point, I believe he got fired. That's immediately popped into my head. Innocent saying, didn't Chris Benoit, he was the wrestler, kill himself due to effects later in life? Well, I mean, you can't draw a direct correlation, but that is probably the reason, or based off the reports. Spinal concussion is still neurological, Chris saying. And listen, folks, he shouldn't have been on the damn plane on Thursday night after. That's how insano the whole thing is. He definitely had brain swelling. That's common sense. He should have been held from going back at a hospital and for further evaluation.
Well, Cincinnati's medical center, they released him. So, I mean, they're really good. And they said he could fly on the plane. So I'm going to go with what they say, because obviously I'm not a doctor. I don't have a medical degree, but I can see that he was not treated properly by Miami or even the independent neurological person, whatever they are, on the sidelines. It was completely botched. And as a player, I understand that there are players that say, I want to go in, I want to go in, I want to go in. Well, you also have to take into consideration, this is kind of like the drunk guy trying to drive at the end of the bar tap, like trying to leave the bar. I want to drive. I can drive. No, you can't, because you're not thinking right. You have something affecting it.
But at that point, where's his agent? I just, wow. The whole thing.
Money?
Yeah. Another comment. You think it's guys getting bigger and hitting harder than ever, or equipment? I think
the helmet.
I think the equipment is about the equipment improved. Peyton Manning was actually one of the first, but goodness gracious, that's now been that was 90.
Talk about
first
it.
year was 98, so that's been 25 years ago. So it could probably have another, and it may have. The equipment, I think, helps, but is it guys getting bigger and stronger? Absolutely, it is. It's guys getting bigger and stronger, but people die like this all the time. Before my 10-year reunion, the week before, a friend of mine's husband was sitting on the back end of, how people sit up on, especially at NASCAR events. I always winch when I see that since this point. But he was sitting on the back of the tailgate, not the tailgate down, but the tailgate up. And the guy accidentally took off too fast. He fell back, hit his head, and died. He was 27 years old, and that these injuries, these deaths happen all the time. But the thing is, going into this that there is a greater probability for someone to injure themselves in a football game than just hanging out with buddies, drinking a couple of beers, sitting in the back of a pickup truck. The likelihood is greater. So you should take these precautions. I'm done.
Okay. Rant over.
The Down and Dirty at 30 brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. Amanda and I were fortunate enough to meet on Wednesday, and I just ran through it and loved it. Loved the taste of that coffee, and I'm not a coffee drinker. Literally, the only time that I drink coffee is at Honeybee Coffee. Why is it so good, Amanda?
Top 5% of beans in the world. Locally owned. I feel like locally owned stuff always tastes better, I guess, because you're not giving it to the man or whatever they say. You're not you're beating the system or whatever. But it's good coffee. They treat their employees well. You could tell everybody's having a good time while they were there and working hard. And so I think that's a big part of it is it being locally owned, but the fact that it tastes good doesn't necessarily hurt it. So
now that helps. That helps a lot. All right, let's open this up to Down and Dirty at 30. Your thoughts on the weekend that was in the SEC? If you looked at the schedule, you wouldn't have thought it was going to be all that eventful, but it turned out to be. What are a couple of your takeaways before I get to some of mine?
So I'm going to say this, and I am mad at myself for not sticking to my guns, and I should have stuck to them at the beginning of the season. I'm on one now. At the beginning of the season, I said, Georgia isn't that good. They're not that good. They have problems on defense. They're going to be exposed. You can't rebuild a whole defense in a year. No. Georgia's great. Georgia's the best team in the nation.
Well,
I
do think you stuck by your guns. Why?
Well,
questioning yourself. I thought I was the one who said, no, they're fine. They're going to reload.
Yes. But after the first after the first 3 games, I was like, okay, fine. Then they're good. Then I eat my words. They're good. And then the last 2 games, face down, face plant in the ground, Georgia. They are not good. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good. But they're not they're posers. They are fakers. They are posers. And Tennessee, I told you would go 10-2, and I said they would beat Georgia, and I will stick by that right now.
So the missus and I go out a rare date night on Saturday night, and we're waiting for a table, and we go sit at the bar, and we're sitting there, and somebody's watching the Georgia game, and the missus, rightfully so, asked that I kind of tune things out when we do these things. So but I look over, and Missouri, on this guy's phone, Missouri is leading Georgia. And I said, whoa, what's happening there? And he said, yeah, it's pretty close. It's closer than it should be. I said, closer than it should be. I said, Georgia's losing right now and very well could lose the game. I said, that'd be pretty funny. And he had his shoulder to me, and he turned, and he had a Georgia shirt on. And at that point, we didn't speak any longer. He turned his back on me, and he was a mad Georgia fan. But Georgia does come back and win. I think there are a lot of things that happened over the weekend, Amanda, that really opened the door for Tennessee to have an even better season. I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I certainly, as what I'm going to mention here momentarily, I'm not in any shape or form celebrating injuries, but you look at Georgia beating Missouri. They needed 14 fourth quarter points to come back and win. Alabama beats Arkansas 49-26 in a game that I thought that score was a little bit, I thought the game was closer than that. 49-26, 21 fourth quarter points, and that's Alabama wearing Arkansas down. But that was a ball game. Bryce Young has to go out for a bit. It looks like everything's okay, but we're talking about a throwing shoulder. So does that affect him later for a Tennessee game? Again, we 100% hope he's okay. Ole Miss beats Kentucky 22-19. So this is a very similar type of offense that Lane Kiffin runs that Tennessee does. Not exactly the same, but similar. So they're able to put up 22 with a group of guys that are largely transfer guys. And I think Tennessee can have success against that Kentucky offense. And LSU has to struggle, who Tennessee will play this week, has to struggle to beat Auburn. And at one point, LSU starting quarterback, who we'll talk more about, had to leave the game with an injury as well, but it looks like he is okay. So there are a lot of things, again, not celebrating injuries whatsoever, and we don't want those to happen. But there are a lot of things that happened over the weekend that would seem to open the door for Tennessee to have even a better opportunity to beat some of the teams that they shouldn't, in particular, Georgia. Georgia just struggle against Missouri when the week before you played horrible against Samford. I mean, if you don't get your players' attention there, you've got to wonder not only about a talent and chemistry thing on the field, you've got to worry about a culture thing. You should come out and make a statement the week after that game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through what you just discussed. The Georgia team not only looks bad with chemistry on the field, but if you've noticed, and I've seen snippets, there have been sideline problems with Georgia during the games. There have been players getting into coaches' faces. Like, I mean, it doesn't look like a respectable organization at the moment. It just doesn't, and does not look as structured as everyone thought that it was. It looks very chaotic over there, and that's a good thing, honestly, for Tennessee. But I think if you're Tennessee, you're glad that Georgia did not lose, because that's what you don't want. You don't want to light a fire under somebody like Georgia, who has the talent, who is just obviously just not, it's not meshing somehow. As far as Alabama is concerned, Bryce Young has a sprained shoulder. He's had this before. He's out normally 2 to 3 days. So, and even if Bryce Young was out going to the Arkansas game, Alabama was up 28-0, I think. 21-0, and then 28-7, maybe, something of that nature. So the game it didn't really look as close as it looked like it was a runaway. Then it looked like it got closer. Then it looked like a runaway again. So it was just a different ball game all in itself. But if you look at Alabama's backup quarterback, Milroe, he looks not just as good as Bryce Young, but close.
Well, and I would think with the talent surrounding them that and the way they recruit, that it sounds crazy to say, but a Heisman Trophy winner, there might not be that big of a fall off. The onside kick certainly helped Arkansas as well, but I thought they held up pretty good. Again, I have Arkansas barely on that second tier of teams, so I'm considering the opponent as well. So the betting line for the Tennessee LSU game was pretty interesting yesterday. It started out, I believe in the preseason, it was 6.5. Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong. But now as things have shaken out and it is actually game week, saw a couple of reports early in the day. That's why we just kind of held off to see where it would set, and saw a couple of reports early in the day that it was 4.5 or 5.5. So at the end of the day, it settled at about 3.5. So that's a number that basically says this is a pick 'em because it's at LSU. I think Tennessee is so fortunate not to have to play a night game there. Cooper Mays, if you haven't heard it, go to our YouTube channel. We'll play it a little bit later on the show today. Said it'll be 10:30 there, so maybe they won't be as drunk. So I thought that was pretty funny. Cooper is great to talk to. So Cooper Mays on the YouTube channel. We'll have Chris Landry as well later today. We'll hear from Cooper on this very show. And also, we'll visit with Jacob Warren this afternoon. So Jacob Warren will be on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed there, you can go ahead and just click the button right now. Why not make it easy and set your notifications on so you know good stuff's coming your way. We're here every single weekday morning at 8:30. But go ahead and click like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share and we would greatly appreciate it. I tell you what you'd greatly appreciate is Andy Mason of AndyMasonRealEstate.com. I've known Andy since I was in high school, but I didn't know after we kind of parted ways in high school that he was a realtor, and I went with somebody else instead of Andy. Cost me thousands of dollars, maybe even 5 digits in a house transaction that I made. Since then, I've learned and moved properties with Andy Mason of AndyMasonRealEstate.com. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's really simple. Best service, best price, end of the day. That's what it is. It is Andy Mason. So we'll get to the message boards a little bit. Kind of your thoughts. Crazy says, I think the Bama win over Arkansas made them look better, but Georgia struggled for 3 weeks now. Samford, Kent State, and Mizzou. Yes, agreed with that. With Georgia, I really have to wonder now if they are going to be the dominant, just plug and play team that Alabama's program has been for a number of years. Let's not forget, let's go back to the early 1980s. A guy named Herschel Walker led Georgia to a championship, and their defense was loaded. Okay, so he had 1 year left. He came back. They're definitely going to win another one, right? They have a loaded defense again, right? It didn't happen. And it took them 3,000 years later to win another championship. It's just like when people said that Tennessee is going to be just fine with this guy named Derek Dooley. At the time, I was like, I don't know. I've seen some programs fall apart before. I'm not saying Georgia's going to fall apart, but I'm saying winning a national championship is not as easy as Nick Saban has made it look. And I would say this for Tennessee too, guys, for you out there listening. When it comes to Tennessee, people think that either Nico or Taven Jackson or whoever is just going to step in and Tennessee's automatically going to be that much better. Amanda alluded to it. You can't gauge chemistry. You can't gauge what that means to a team. So that's no guarantee. I think Hendon Hooker is one heck of a leader. And does that just naturally happen with the next dude? I don't know. Nico and Taven seem like great guys, but still chemistry is really hard to predict. And you mentioned the sidelines, and I think there are some chemistry issues at Georgia. So that's good news for the rest of the SEC East. If I made you bet a mortgage payment on it right now, Amanda, would you say that Georgia, other than Alabama, wins all of their SEC games? You would think Alabama in the SEC championship game, even if they do drop one. But if I made you bet a mortgage payment that they win all of their SEC games other than potentially playing Alabama in the SEC championship game, which way would you go?
I take the field.
I would too. I would too.
And I would have done that before the season started. And then, 2-3 weeks in, I was convinced, okay, I was wrong. Nope. I was not wrong.
No. And I'm with you. And I would definitely take the field at this point, which I never thought I would have said before. And then if you don't mind, give a quick Google because I missed it. What has Oregon done since Georgia laid it on them earlier in the year? Because we really don't know anything after the first week, to be honest with you. What you do know is that Pedigo e-bikes in Chattanooga is the way to go. Pedigo, Chattanooga locally owned store where you'll be treated like family, as the region's foremost electric bike experts. They put their hearts into helping you find the perfect electric bike and get the most out of it for many years to come. They have service there, which you don't have at other places. And if you just buy an e-bike online, then you are not going to get the same quality and you're not going to get the service and the support. Chris saying Georgia will get up for the Vols, but the Vols will get up for them as well. Should be a good game down there at their house, regardless of anyone's record. I don't know. Does Georgia still get up for Tennessee? I mean, Tennessee is not a rival to a lot of these teams, as harsh as that sounds. But these really, they're not. They're not viewed as a rival because they've struggled so much lately. So, Amanda, what's Oregon done since that Georgia game?
So they're 3-1. So they've, gone, obviously undefeated since that. However, they did come back over a Pac-12 rival in Washington State to win in the fourth quarter. So it's not like they're just killing people left, right, and center. They're not great. And I don't think anybody ever thought they were great. They had Bo Nix as quarterback and were excited about it. It's not the best. I know that we talked about Tennessee and LSU, and it's, Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite, which actually makes them on a neutral field a touchdown favorite. It's not.
On a neutral, well, it's typically 3 points for a home field advantage.
Right. So that gives LSU 3 points, which makes.
Okay. Okay, I got you. So, but that would be if it were at home. Anyway, somewhere in the middle. Who else did Oregon beat?
They beat. They're 3-1. Defeated the Cougars.
Right.
I could not find it on a thing. It's just no one talks about Oregon. So.
I know that Oregon. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. So we take a look at Oregon. Oregon, of course, lost to Georgia 49-3, and we all were ready to coronate Georgia as the next great program in the SEC. They beat Eastern Washington 70-14. I didn't know there was an Eastern Washington. Solid win against BYU 41-20. And then they beat Washington State 44-41. Squeak by, and Stanford 45-27. So you give them a lot of credit for that BYU game, handling a number 12 team. But again, if you want to do the comparative opponents team, which can get you in a lot of trouble, let's see what BYU has done since and before and after. It's really hard sometimes, because it's one of the things that I would like to change, and you and I've talked about it and somewhat disagreed about college football, is if we're all kind of together here, we'd have a better idea. So here's what BYU's done, and I never thought we'd get here, but they lost to Oregon. That's their only loss, and they've won one overtime game to number 9 Baylor, so that's a significant win. So maybe Georgia got too high after that first game against Oregon. Maybe they felt too good about themselves. I'm not sure, but it's not the Georgia team that I thought we would ultimately see. We'll find out if they're anywhere close to as dominant as I thought they would be. I may be dead wrong. A Monday Night Football tonight. Big Orange Phillies is a great place to watch it. They are fantastic. Big Orange Phillies is family friendly and a great place to hang out. We're going to be joined by Chris Landry of Landry Football right after this. Break down the SEC weekend. Stick with us. Back in 2 minutes.
It's Gary Vols here, Vols Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Vols Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
I think this was kind of cute in the beginning, but I'm not sure it's sticking. It's quite the mashup. Welcome back. Hit that like and subscribe button because you should, and share as well because you get information that you can't get anywhere else, especially from a guy like Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. Chris Landry, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Good to see you and Amanda. Bright, smiley faces this Monday morning.
Yes, I think I've talked to you before about I've always battled since I was like 18 with insomnia, and for some reason it went away this past 4 days. So I'm feeling chipper. I'm ready to go out and run a mile.
Oh, good for you, man.
Good for you.
Just wait for after the show. We could use you here, for the next few minutes, if you don't mind.
If you want to fill in on our message board, give Chris Landry some questions. We'll be glad to field those. His appearance in part is brought to you by Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue right there in Ooltewah has all the barbecue supplies you could possibly imagine, the sauces and the rubs. Go to Owl's Nest Barbecue. It is awesome. Chris is Georgia, even in a win, not quite as good as you thought.
Well, I think they're going through some issues. They're going through some what I consider complacency issues with, look, you can't just show up and win games. They are banged up at receiver. There's a drop-off. Stetson Bennett's not the guy that can carry a football team. And they faced a Missouri team that I don't think is very good, but they played very good this past week and kind of slowed down Georgia's run game. So I think that's to be determined down the road. I think that it's a fair question. Do I think they're still one of the three best teams in the country? I do. I think we're going to have to see them in Alabama as the season develops, but it's still a separation between them and the rest. And here's what I would say is when I looked at it, and this is always dangerous, and this is why you worry about it as a coach, is when they needed to get it done, they just turned it on. And, that was an indication of how much better they are and how capable they are. But this is why we harp on it as coaches. You can't play sloppy in games in which you're a big favorite. Even if you're going to win the game by 30 points, you develop bad habits. And I think right now they've developed some bad habits that they've got to figure out. But do I feel like they're going to get threatened against certain teams that they're going to play the rest of the schedule? Oh, I think they're going to play a whole lot better once the competition is better, which is not the way you want it as a coach, but I still like them to run the table in the East.
I was talking to Cooper Mays on the Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning about integrity, cityheatandair.com. You'll love those people. They'll take care of you. And Cooper said, he doesn't watch a lot of football because he plays a lot of football. And that's probably common. You're so busy with football that when you're playing, you don't watch as much as you want to. And he usually has a game. But with an off week, he said he just laid back on his couch and his fuzzy blanket and watched football for a couple of hours. And he said it looked like that they went heavy on one side with a heavy tight end and just tried to run the football at them. And I want to get your take on that, your eval on that, but also is that something that Tennessee could even do with the type of offense they did? I mean, in other words, with what Missouri did, can Tennessee mimic that, or are they just too different offensively?
Well, they're different. Now, you're talking about Tennessee's offense or Tennessee's defense?
Tennessee's offense, yes. So Cooper was telling me that he thought they went heavy, ran to one side, ran a heavy tight end that Missouri did against Georgia, and I don't know if Tennessee is able to do that, or that'd be too vast of a change.
Yeah, they don't. Tennessee doesn't play that. They don't run that. They run the football, but they run it out of spread sets. They don't like to put the tight end as much into the run game as so. No, that's really not what they do. And look, I don't think that game was as much about Missouri as it was about Georgia. As I said, I think the game really wasn't on that side. The defense was fine. It was Georgia's offense that struggled. Down receivers, they oversimplified things. They were really slow to adjust. They seemed like we got this, and then look, they just stalled in the red zone, made mistakes in the red zone. I mean, they just settled for field goals, and that to me was the difference. Look, I mean, Georgia fans have a right to be, and everybody has a right to say, "Oh, there's problems." We'll see. I mean, time's gonna tell on that. One thing I think you guys know about me is, since I don't really care who wins games or whatever, I kind of look at it as I see it, and I see issues, but I see the issues as correctable. But I see some things that they need to have. They need to get some of their receivers back healthy, because that's where it was. They said, you know what, we're going to play this close to the vest, because we don't really need to be aggressive here. And I think they found themselves in a game. And I thought Missouri did a really good job. I don't think they're a really good team, but it could be a problem. And the whole, the whole, and I know Kirby said, "Oh, it's tough on the road." It's tough when you don't play well, Kirby. It's tough when your team's not motivated to play, because Missouri's not that good of a team. But they made them look really good. And I think that game was really all about Georgia and not about Missouri, first of all. And I don't think that's going to be reflective going forward. It might be. We'll see. Time will tell. But I'm not concerned about, I think this. I think when you blow out Oregon and everybody thinks, "Oh, they're the greatest team they're going to run through," that's where I think, again, people overreact. "Oh, they're the greatest team ever." Well, no, they're not. They look good. They're playing good. Now it's like the sky is falling. No, they're not. It's a little bit more even keeled. It's never as good as you think. It's never as bad as you think. They may not be as good as, I know they're not as good as people were making them out to be after the win over Oregon, because it never is. But I still think they are clearly the team to beat in the East, and we'll see how that plays out with them in Alabama, because I think that'll still be where we are at the end of the year. But maybe not. We'll see. Maybe there are other issues. That's the thing you never know, is what if there are more issues? What if there are more injuries? Then all of a sudden we got a different ball game. But all I can do is take it, game to game, week to week, and see who's available and who's healthy and who's not.
Yeah. Did you watch, obviously you watch all the games, but did you see the sidelines, especially during that Georgia-Missouri game? Can you give us a little bit of insight, maybe what's going on there, or what that means culture-wise?
There's no culture issue there. It's frustration, particularly kind of when you're not playing well and you're missing assignments, you're not getting the check call, and you're in the wrong place. People get frustrated, and that happens all the time. I mean, it happens pretty much every game. It's just they catch it more on TV now, but there's no culture. I think if anything, it showed a little intensity that needed to have. If they had played with that type of intensity and focus, that game would have been a 30-point game. So I'm not saying that and pushing and shoving is great, but sometimes you need that, because sometimes you got to, if you feel like something is not getting done and they're going through the motions, I think other players tend to jump on teammates. So I don't see that as a real problem. And I guarantee you, kind of the way that culture is, that's smoothed over. That's, I think, always overplayed, quite frankly. Now, I think when things are really bad, I think sometimes there can be a little bit more to that. But to me, guys, if I had a nickel for every time, that stuff happened when I was there as a player or coach, I don't know. They probably arrest me for some of the stuff I did on the sidelines.
Yeah, well, you weren't Buddy Ryan punching Kevin Gilbride.
No, I didn't do that. Although there were a couple of times where I wanted to do it, but I was at a table where Buddy Ryan punched somebody in the meeting room, and the guy he punched was right next to me. So I came like this close to getting the punch, even though I wasn't the intended guy.
That is so awesome. And I think that was on Monday night.
Awesome for you, but if it might have been a broken jaw for me.
The Kevin Gilbride thing too, I think, was on a Monday night football game.
It was a Sunday night football game back in the TNT days, and that was
that was gold. That was
security of the team is walking between Gilbride and Buddy Ryan. Oh man, what the stories? Oh man, that's a good offseason story one day to talk about.
It is
Buddy Ryan.
It is. I want to get to LSU and get your breakdown of them right now. So hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure and share. We greatly appreciate that. Yeah, LSU, I know, is in rebuilding mode.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you make of their game against Auburn? They get the win, but they didn't blow me away in any shape, form, or fashion. Where is this football team right now after a bit of a mutiny in week one? Maybe that's too strong.
Yeah. No, I think it was week one was more about, assignments, mistakes, frustration, a little bit of a player. Keishawn Butte is a little bit of a me guy, and that's not reflective of it's just they've kind of calmed him down, and I think they're fine. Culture-wise and everything, I think they've been fine since the beginning. It's always when you have a loss, it's kind of overblown. They're trying to kind of figure things out. They outcoached the heck out of Mississippi State. They found a way to make adjustments against Auburn. I think they're really well organized and they're very well coached. I just don't think they're as good. I think people think LSU, well, they won again and they're really, really good. They don't have a passing game. That's a problem. Neither does Auburn. And I thought that they had some big time mistakes in coverage against Auburn. Auburn, got out to a lead and we're in trouble. In fact, if it's not for the fumble, scoop, and score, I don't know. I don't know if that LSU needed that big boost. Kind of like A&M got the boost against Arkansas with the fumble from KJ Jefferson. I thought that flipped the game around in LSU's favor, or I don't know if they would have won that game, but they did. And that's maybe a little bit more about Auburn and their struggles of trying to finish. But I think you're catching LSU at the right time if you're Tennessee. This team's trying to find itself. There's a whole lot of transfers that were brought in. There's the program, talent-wise, was left adrift by Ed Orgeron, but there's still some talent, just not nearly as much as you think 2019 and how much talent could there be? It's a complete shift, guys that didn't go to the NFL transferred or whatever. So it's definitely a rebuild, but they're well coached. They ran the football pretty well against Auburn, which is impressive because Auburn has got a pretty good defensive front. But I don't think they can throw the football well enough. Look, this is going to be this is going to be the game plan should be and will be like Florida's game plan was against Tennessee. Run the football, keep it away from Tennessee. LSU can't keep up with Tennessee's, score quickly, and they can't match points in the passing game in that regard. So they're going to have to control the game. But Florida did that pretty well. So that's going to be the key is, for Tennessee is defensively. Like it is going to be pretty much for every game. Can defensively they get off the field? And can they create turnovers or slow down the opposition's run game to allow their offense to cook and breathe and get in rhythm? Because if Tennessee gets a lead, they'll win and win going away. Just like I said against Florida. We know that kind of, or Pitt. Both of those games were a little bit more challenging. They probably could have been and should have been, and the reason is defensively. So I think that's what I see defensively. Again, for LSU, they can rush the quarterback. Now that's no joke. That's going to be it's going to be a like Pitt, but with better edge rushers. LSU's, Ojulari in particular, but they've got guys that can rush the passer and then get home with four-man pressures. So Matt House is probably – I'm very curious to see how they're going to play it defensively. I've got some thoughts, but I don't know certainly yet what they're going to do. But it's going to be about what LSU can do coverage-wise and with base pressure to slow down Tennessee's offense. And that'll determine how effective they can be on that side of the ball. But in the end, you can play well, but you can't hold down Tennessee's offense for an entire game. So it's really going to come down to LSU's offense and ball control or lack thereof that's going to determine this game.
Yeah, so LSU, I think, if I'm not mistaken, their quarterback got a little beaten up this past weekend against Auburn. What do you see? Do you think he's just – I know Bryce Young got beaten up against Arkansas, but it's a sprained shoulder. This quarterback injury, how do you see this affecting, the game coming forward?
Well, I don't know what they're going to call it officially. My guess, and it's just a guess, I hate guessing on medicals, but, to answer the question, that's all I can do. I think he's going to be good to go, although, again, I don't know. I think that what they're going to do is, obviously today is going to be an important day, of how things are. But I think they're going to keep it hush-hush. What I think they may do is they may get more reps for Garrett Nussmeier this week. Garrett Nussmeier can be a more effective passer. Jaden Daniels, you're defending the run. So it would make a lot of sense for LSU to kind of, play it, the whole Bill Belichick role, day to day, whatever it is, and make Tennessee prepare for defending the quarterback run game if Jaden Daniels is playing, or, a little bit more, passing game, drop back stuff with Garrett Nussmeier. So I think they'll probably play Jaden Daniels, but I don't know that because obviously it's going to depend on health. He starts if he's healthy. If he's not, and I think they get a feel for that, then they're going to practice Garrett Nussmeier more this week. So he'll be more prepared than obviously what he was last week, because you get about 75-80% of your reps to your number one guy. So if you're getting 20% of the reps, 15-20% of your reps, you're not going to be as prepared to play in a game as you would if you've got a whole week where now you get the 80 or 90% of the reps the next week.
Daniel asked a question. It's something that we touched base on months ago. It said, is it possible for Tennessee to run a 4-minute spread offense instead of going to a goal line style, or does the offense rely too much on the speed of play? You've been saying 4-minute offense forever, and I thought they tried that just a little bit against Florida, but it needs to be the next evolution of this offense.
Yeah, you can run it out of the spread set. What you can't do is, you can't line up, and people say this all the time. Well, I don't like when they do. Well, you can't practice all the time the spread and the tempo, and then all of a sudden, well, just line up and power and come off the ball. Well, you don't do that. You don't practice it. I mean, it's just that's not who you are. But you can slow down the tempo, and you can run the football and huddle, with a lead. That's not what Josh likes to do. And their offense is built around, we got to trick you. And he's not going to say this, but he feels like, and rightly so, that they're not good enough to beat you lining up mano a mano. He's got to beat you with tempo. So their advantage is we'll line up quickly before the defense could line up, and we'll attack you. And I don't think he's as comfortable, with the reads. He's not as comfortable with being able to get the run game going consistently. So I think they feel like they have to be tempo-oriented to be successful. My thing is, when you get a lead, if you're in a position to do that, that it behooves you to be able to line up, in a huddle, take your time, even if you don't want to huddle, just slow the pace down. Because what it does, it helps you against the opposing defense, but it hurts your defense on the sideline because they're the weak point of your team anyway. And so it's just a bit of a philosophical difference of what I think versus what Josh thinks. And it doesn't matter. It's Josh's team. Is Josh feels like, the more points we score, then the better. And, my feeling is, yes, that's true as long as you score points. But the minute you drop the ball or you have an errant pass and, all of a sudden you've got a 24-point lead and it's 7-point leads with 5 minutes left because you've not been able to eat clock a little bit. And my thing is I still want to score points offensively, but I want to have an element where I can run 4 minutes, 6 minutes off the clock, and then score 7. Because then game over then. Because you've basically eliminated, it's not baseball. You don't have 27 outs. That clock is a big part of it. But that's a Josh philosophy. And I don't think we're going to truly know Josh's true feelings, regardless of what he says. But we're not going to know that till about 3 years from now, because Josh feels like, rightly so, that that's the only way he can really win is to do it this way. Now, if he's able to recruit better, then I think he can maybe evolve to where he can still be a really good offense, but be able to implement more of the 4-minute stuff, because defensively they'll have better personnel, deeper personnel, but that depends on the recruiting. And, right now the recruiting is good, not great, but I think a lot of that is just probably Josh's philosophy. In fact, I know it's Josh's philosophy, but will he adapt and adjust? I don't know. That's why I've always said I think the ceiling for Tennessee, everybody's excited, and rightly so. If you're a fan of Tennessee and you're used to seeing what you've been seeing for years, you got a program with Josh that's going to win you 8 games or 9 games a year and go to nice bowl games. Is it a type of program, the way they're running it, that's going to win conference championships? No. But that may be good enough for Tennessee fans, right now anyway. But I think when they're going to want to, when are we going to take that next step? Well, the next step is going to have to be an alteration of the philosophy. I've explained it several times before. I don't know if people are getting it, but it's a lot like what Oklahoma has been, particularly under Lincoln Riley. That was good enough to win the Big 12, but he couldn't match up in the playoffs. He got hammered in most cases. That one game against Georgia in the Rose Bowl that was close for a half, and then it flipped around. But running that style at Oklahoma or at Tennessee, unless you alter it, you're not going to get out of the SEC as long as the Georgias and the Alabamas are doing what they're doing. And quite frankly, if they're not, then somebody else will be a little bit more physical. And I think that Florida, for example, is going to build a program that's going to be more of a line of scrimmage team. It's a line of scrimmage conference. And right now what Tennessee's doing is doing a really good job of using their speed and their tempo to negate the lack of line of scrimmage disadvantages that they have. But that can only get you so far. But right now, man, look, it's ride the wave, get excited, because they're really good. And I've said it before, it may be an 8-4 team, but they got a 10-2 schedule. And, the way things are, who knows? Maybe 11-1's, not out of the question, but I still see them the same way. It's just about, how they're able to compete.
Chris's appearance brought to you in part by The Mattress Place. The Mattress Place, 22 years on Chapman Highway, Marine Corps veteran owned. Tell them Off the Hook Sports sent you, and you'll get a great mattress at a great price. No gimmicks, 30 to 70% off each and every day, and over 225 5-star reviews on Google. That's pretty incredible. So as far as Tennessee defensively, I get this question all the time. Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? What would you do if you were Tim Banks and you were Tennessee's defensive coordinator to make this defense a little bit better? Because I'm well aware that he's hamstrung by talent, that he's hamstrung by an offense that puts them in bad situations. Are there any adjustments that really can be made, or Like they say, it is what it is. My least favorite saying of all time, but it is what it is.
Well, I wouldn't coach defense with this type of offense. So this is a thankless job. So, I wouldn't do it. What you have to do is you have to recruit and get more depth and create more speed. So, okay, I'm going to accept this challenge. I'm going to take this job, even though that's not what I want to do. I'm going to create turnovers in abundance. I'm going to be very aggressive. I'm going to take chances because I feel like, hey, like I got an offense that can go the length of the field quickly. So I might not be able to get stops, but I can get turnovers that are the same thing as stops. So I got to get more speed, but you got to get better cover people. You got to get more depth on the defensive line. I mean, you better have 4 really good, high-level edge rushers and 4 high-level interior rushers. You better have 8 guys minimum that can rush the passer like a demon, because you're going to have to play a lot of snaps. You're going to have to find a way to rotate them, either by series or in snaps, depending on the type of team you're playing and the ability to adjust. I want speed. I want linebackers that can rush. I want slot guys that are good blitzers. I'm going to come after you because, okay, I'm going to give up a big play. I'll give up a touchdown. Well, that's all right. I give up a touchdown. I'm going to get my offense back on the field and we'll score points. That's what we're going to do. Because that's what I have to do. And you're not going to build a great defense if you're going to be on the field for that many snaps and your offense is going to basically put your defense in peril. It's going to always be the uphill battle. It's the offense the whole team is built around the offense. And so it's like we're running downhill, so you got a race where it's the same distance, but I'm running uphill defensively and they're running downhill. Just let that sink in. So it's tough to do. But that's what I would do. That's the only thing I could do. I used the analogy, I think last week with you that, good friend Phil Bennett was known as a really good defensive coach and did a lot of good things. Goes out to Baylor with Art Browse and he's got to hold on. It's like, hey, we gave up 40 points. That a boy defense, because that's as good as you can do. You're playing 80 snaps a game. It's going to always be an uphill battle. And the challenge and the difficulty with that is what happens if your offense has an off day? Then you become not an average team. You become a below average team. You see that it's kind of like a basketball team. If you're a great shooting team and you don't rebound, you don't play defense, it's fine as long as you shoot. What if you go into a cold streak? You get blown out. You don't rebound. You don't play defense. That's not what you do. So to me, to be great, not to be good, it's not that difficult to take this scheme. This scheme is really good. What Tennessee does is really good to take you from bad to competitive. But the challenge is competitive to great. In order to be great, you have to win with that big toolbox, right? Because great teams win in different ways. Georgia played poorly, couldn't run the football. That's what they do. Stetson Bennett was awful. They found a way to make a few plays to win it. Okay, you find ways to win on special teams, on defense, and you got to be able to win multiple ways because there are going to be games where your offense may not be as sharp. Your defense has to take over. Your special teams have to create turnovers, create field position, whatever. The ability to do multiple things in different ways is the key to being great because you're not going to win the same way all the time. But if you have to win the same way all the time, then you might be able to win enough games to appease your fan base. But the question is, and you guys tell me, I think Tennessee fans are ecstatic right now because of where they've been. But let's go 5 years from now.
Right.
If they're winning 8 games and 9 games a year, are they happy or they're sitting, well, wait a minute, because that's what they are. They're probably a program with this style that's an 8-9 win team a year, with the only variable like this year where if the schedule's weaker and maybe you can win 10 or 11, but are you going to – this whole thing about, look, Tennessee's getting ready to rise up and take over the East, they're not. To me, that's not where – this is not the type of scheme and the type of style that's going to allow that to happen unless everybody else comes back to the pack, which I don't see happening. Right now the East is wide open other than Georgia. And, Alabama's going to be good in the West. But, see, that's the difference. And Tennessee has to play those two teams twice a year. And, we can sit there and say for the next 6 years, is Tennessee going to play Georgia and Alabama? How many of those games would they win in, let's say in 5 years? So they play those two, that's 10 games. How many of those 10 games will they likely win over those two teams? Maybe a couple, 2 out of 10, maybe 3. Will they win that's my point in this. So I'm looking ahead because I can. Right now, they're getting it done in a big-time way because this is what they need to do to be successful now. So I'm just intrigued by where Josh is going to take it. Is he going to get out of his comfort zone and be able to build a program that's maybe can take it to the next level? Because I think what he's doing is kind of getting to pretty much where ceiling's going to be.
I think I can answer part of that question. I think after next year, if Tennessee, even if they win 9 games this year, everybody's ecstatic. After 9 games next year, it's going to be wins the next step. And then I think we'll see if Josh Heupel is able to make that adaptation, that evolution in his game. And you're right. This is what he's comfortable with. It'd be outside of his comfort zone. So, Amanda, you want to jump in there? Got it? Or do we want to include Chris in today's tough question? We're going to include Chris in today's tough question. All right, Chris.
Tough on a Monday morning. Tough question. Yeah. Oh, in the hot seat, man. Okay.
Like a 5 a.m. workout. Here we go. Today's tough question is brought to you today by our friends at Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Bassey Lawn and Garden has every possible mower you could want, be it residential, be it commercial, be it whatever. They've got it, and they got the hedgers and trimmers too. Today's tough question.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soupe, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, Kimosabi?
Oh, my God.
All righty, Amanda. What's today's tough question? We usually lead the show, but Chris, you weren't here. I went on a rant about the Tua thing, and that took up some time. So
yeah, we talked about that, didn't we, Amanda? That was we talked about it Friday because it was Thursday night. We talked about that.
Yes,
Friday.
we did. We had some good stuff about that. Yeah, especially coming from you being on the sidelines. You've seen things like this, so it was a very good insight that way. Today's tough question. We've talked about LSU. We've talked about, everything happening in the SEC. So out of Tennessee's schedule, that the people that they have left, who are they most likely going to drop a game to? If you had to pick one team that they're going to lose to, what team would that be? And I'm going to give 4 options. I'm going to give obviously Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, and then we'll do, I guess, LSU is the last one. Would you say out of the schedule?
I would go
most
LSU.
Likely. Yeah. So those
really,
4.
I think for Chris, the decision is going to be between Alabama and Georgia, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, they play Georgia on the road, Alabama at home. It's just easy to say, more likely to beat Alabama in Knoxville. But I think both Alabama and Georgia will beat Tennessee. I think it's. But
you got to pick one, Chris. That's what.
That's it. I'll just take the home. I'll take the home game with Georgia. I think both of those teams are better. I don't think Tennessee can beat those teams. I think those teams have to lose to Tennessee. Just like I really didn't think Tennessee could Florida could beat Tennessee, Tennessee would have to lose the game. And that happens. I mean, it happens. So I would say they're more likely to beat Alabama, but I don't think they're going to beat Alabama. I mean, I'm trying to, I don't answer the question. So I would say Georgia, but I think they'll lose both of those games. I think they should beat LSU, and I think they should beat Kentucky. So I'm gonna say they should win. But again, they have an off night offensively, turn the football over. They could lose either one of those games too. The rest of them, despite what you saw out of Missouri this past week, and they should win those games.
Chris, I will talk to you soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we look forward to Chalk Talk that's on our YouTube channel, and all of the content that you've been providing has been awesome. So we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much. Take care. Have a great rest of the show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Of LandryFootball.com. So do we want to say what is the most dangerous opponent remaining on Tennessee's schedule? Which would you pick of those four?
So I just said out of the remaining games on Tennessee's schedule, which team do you think is most likely to beat the Vols?
Okay.
Alabama, Georgia. I guess we could go Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Kentucky, or we could do Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and then none of the above.
No, I think Kentucky's solid. I mean, that's a top 20 team that stylistically is going to be way different than Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would actually. Well, that's tough for me because I think Tennessee's a slightly better matchup schematically against Alabama. But I think Georgia is finding themselves issues. So it's between those two. I guess I would say it's tough to go down to Georgia and get a win. And so I would say Georgia would be the most dangerous or the most likely to lose, however you want to phrase it, out of that group. So I guess, yeah, I would go Georgia. I'm like Chris, though. I think it would be an incredible upset for them to beat either of those teams. So Shadow Wolf saying Amanda looking like she got game. I don't understand that. If we go down there and kick their butts from the start, fast on and on and on, that won't understand that. Okay, we're going to have to work on some typing there. Shadow Wolf. Georgia is the toughest, he said in the next post. Okay, that was a little more concise. More after this, today's tough question. We'll get your thoughts. Go to our Twitter page, and we will be sure and get you on there. What were you going to say? Did I interrupt?
He says it looks like I got game.
Got game. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Maybe you're younger. Maybe you should read the messages from now on. Back in 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ooltewah. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Alrighty, welcome back. Shadow wanted to clarify, I wasn't dissing Amanda. She does.
Yeah.
So that was sweet. Yeah, I got it. It's when you get to the kids talk, it
The kids are saying.
Yeah, the kids. By kids, anybody younger than 35. Sam saying, what can Tennessee learn from the Kentucky Ole Miss game? Ole Miss has a similar style like Tennessee. That's a great question, Sam. And we did allude to it at the very beginning of the show. So remind you can listen to the whole show, but I'll go ahead and address it now. I think they can learn that they can score, because you have to remember that with Lane Kiffin and the way things are going in Ole Miss right now, because they don't have NIL money to compare, they are transfer portal U. That's what they're going to be. So they are going to continue to work in transfers. So the chemistry offensively is still not, I guarantee you, where Lane would like for it to be, but it's going to be there with Tennessee. So what can you learn? It's do the same thing you've been doing, and you should be able to do it at a higher level than Ole Miss did, and they beat Kentucky. So I think you just learn to keep rocking on, and I think Tennessee should beat Kentucky. Their offense is even better than it was last year, and they continue to gel. And yes, I think that at the beginning of the year, I thought Kentucky was a coin flip. At this point, I'm probably 70-30 Tennessee beats Kentucky. So brought to you by Craft Treats today in part. Craft Treats is phenomenal. Check out the chill pills. Man, the chill pills are unbelievable. The chill pills are just so good for your pet. They have the ability to help with digestive issues, which I wasn't aware of. They have the ability to help with the arthritis issues, and they're all available at Craft Treats. And don't forget, you save 20%. That's 20% if you check out with the exclusive code Off the Hook. That's 20% off the hook. And they're great for anxiety too. I'll give you a for instance that happened this morning. We're having some gravel put down in the driveway. So I heard the mechanical equipment coming in at exactly 8:28 when we start at 8:30 every morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Or like the Derek Dooley, oh my God. Yeah, well, I broke out the chill pills 30 seconds before the show, and we were good to go. And you haven't heard my dog bark once. So
I was like, did you grab a chill pill? Because you were not alluding to the dog at any time until then.
Oh yeah, the dog. The dog was going to bark and go crazy, but so we're all good. Again, use the go to Craft Treats, get the chill pills, and you can use Off the Hook, and you will be able. Let me double check that. Is it Off the Hook Sports or Off the Hook? Okay, Off the Hook. Just use Off the Hook, and you're going to save 20% off. How cool is that? And you're going to love the way it will help your dog. And again, with me, it's big time with the arthritis, because my dog's getting a little older and a little bit more. He's getting, I don't know, maybe he's getting that second kick. He's a little more spry. He doesn't struggle to jump up the bed.
He is spry. That's for sure.
Yes, he's a nipper. Be careful.
When he nipped me that one time, I was like, wait, did you just nip me? Because it doesn't hurt at all. It's just like
he just wants you to know what he's got there. It's like a jab. It's not the uppercut. It's not a full right cross. It's just here's what I got. Here's what I got.
I can use these at any moment. Careful, lady. I'm like, okay.
Yes. Sam saying, using Chris's logic, Kentucky lost to Ole Miss. Ole Miss did not beat Kentucky.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, at 22-19, if you're Lane Kiffin, you want to be beating people 40 to something. So no, I don't. Yeah, I see your point there. And both guys, I think that's a a really good point. So, Amanda, as we look at this football game, Tennessee LSU, it was crazy to me that Chris said, and I trust him, that it's not a very talented LSU team. On the surface, if you just landed on the planet and from Mars and you didn't know anything about it, you'd say LSU has talent because they usually always do. I mean, the two worst coaches, in my opinion, in the history of college football to win a national championship are Les Miles and Ed Orgeron. And they did it because they were super overloaded with talent. And for him to say that is, I thought, very, very intriguing. It's a lot like the Florida League. It feels just like that. And I know that, we cover Tennessee a lot closer, and I understand that. But it does feel set up for Tennessee should win this game. Doesn't mean they will, but should win this game. I go back to some of the mistakes that they've made in terms of against Pitt, against Florida, where I don't think they were completely all on the same page or something was going on. I'm not sure. Turnovers were a big part of it against Pitt, of course, and special teams woes. But I go back and look at if Tennessee plays a B-plus game, they win this game 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If they play a B game, 50-50. Other than that, it's coin flip. Then you have to take into account what LSU does. But the fact that it's an 11 o'clock a.m. game, LSU practices in the evening, and this is a big difference to me. I can't tell you this often enough because all the teams I covered practiced in the afternoon. So a noon kickoff, I think some players would rather just get kicked right in the gut before a game than play a noon kickoff. They absolutely hated it. Nowadays, talking to some players yesterday, they say we love morning games. Why? Because they're practicing as we're talking right now, if you're watching live. And they're ready to get and go at noon Eastern or what would be 11 Central. So they hate night games across the board. Every player I've talked to hates night games because you sit around at the hotel. And I purposely didn't stay at team hotels, but I accidentally stayed at one. And I did notice that it must be absolutely horrible just to sit there and you just eat all day. That's pretty much all you can do. And I think it's huge. No, I think it's
don't want to do that.
No, I think it's a huge. I mean, let's talk gambling terms for a second. If that's a 7 o'clock game, as opposed to a 7 Eastern, as opposed to an 11 Central, or we'll make it easy, 6 and 11, we'll stay in Central. I truly believe that's worth 2 points.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't, especially at LSU. I think LSU gets, if it's 7 o'clock, LSU's, I think would be favored maybe at a 7 o'clock game just because it's so hard to play down there at night. And, they've, like Cooper alluded to, they've been up drinking. They need their sleep a little bit before the game.
Yeah. Yeah. But the other good part about a night game at LSU is the fans are so drunk they don't really remember if they lost. Let's get to message board bingo.
Fair.
Random shot. Wait till you hear my favorite shot at Alabama that I take every week. You'll love that one.
I'm sure I will love it.
Every year. There's one guy, Jesse Smithy of 5-Star Preps. I would highly suggest subscribing to that website. And I could say that in May, and he can't help but giggle. It's my favorite joke. But I got to save it for the end of the week. All right. And it's so stupid because all these, hey, you're a Southern hillbilly. Everybody lives in the South. Everybody in the SEC lives in the South.
Yeah, but you know what else is hilarious to me? It's not even that the Southern teams or the people in the SEC are like, you're a hillbilly. It's people that are like, Ohio that are like, y'all are a bunch of hillbillies. And I'm like, man, have you seen your state? Have you driven through it?
But I can at least understand that. And we ran right through the message board bingo bed, which is my fault. Let's try again. All right, here we go.
Okay. All right. So, anyone get the feeling our coach is shaving points? This is bad. Trying to get that buyout guaranteed.
Oh, I know who this is.
Who? Oh, you can't say yet.
Yeah. All right. So you got 10 seconds. If you can type in the answer, you'll win a T-shirt. But you've got to beat me, and now you have about 5 seconds. I believe I know who this is. It's one of two teams, I think. Can you give us a hint? Is it an SEC team?
Yes.
Okay. Brandon says Auburn. Nope. I don't think it's Auburn.
That's true. It's Auburn.
It's Auburn?
Yes.
They just lost. How are they shaving points?
I don't. No, they did. Yeah, they did. I don't know. That's true. I have no idea. It's an Auburn fan. What do you mean? Stop trying to make sense of it. It's not going to help.
I was going to say maybe Georgia or Ole Miss because they've shown the ability to score more points.
Nope, that's Auburn.
Okay.
Auburn doing Auburn things.
It's at drunkenouburnmessageboard.com.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
SEC team.
We got maybe 2 more shirts to give away.
Okay.
Brandon, be sure and email me at dave@offthehooksports.com, and I'll hook you up. If you don't hear from me within a day or 2, then let me know because some of these have been going to spam. Go ahead.
So we should give our coach another contract extension, but add a few clauses along the lines of 1, anyone over the age of 50 may not hold an offensive playbook, nor will they be allowed to call offensive play calls of any kind. 2, defensive play calls may not allow 3 lineman sets to exceed 25% of all defensive downs. Any violations of the above terms will effective immediately terminate this contract.
I think I know who this is, but I don't feel good about it. SEC. All right, who we got? Anybody want to throw a guess out there? Because I am going to go with Sam goes with Kentucky. That might be right. Full on dog attack over there.
I'm sorry.
Is it Kentucky?
No.
Not Kentucky?
No, it is actually before my dog freaks out. It's Texas A&M.
Oh, A&M. Brandon, you've already won a shirt.
Brandon's good. What? Brandon's cheating.
You are good, Brandon. But you were a little bit late. I think Brandon is cheating. You're not allowed to Google. No Googling on this thing. Okay, so all right. Do you want to do one more? Do you want to? Because we've given away one shirt. We have an allotment of shirts. Do you want to do one more?
Yes, I think I do, unless Ava has a problem with it. Apparently she might.
One more. Here we go.
All right. Are we the new Kansas? This is not a team in the SEC. Looking at the remaining schedule, it's conceivable we go winless in the Big 12 this year, finishing a strong 2-10 in year 4 of our coach's nightmare. At least F1 is exciting to watch. Big 12 team.
Yeah, I figured
clearly. Well,
some racing country. Ugh. I want to say somebody. There's a part of me that wants to. Sam says Mizzou.
It's not a Big 12 school, Sam.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Indiana.
It's also not a Big 12 school.
That's true. I don't know. West Virginia, RG1 says.
Yes, it's West Virginia.
All right, RG1, send me your information and we'll get you a T-shirt. Again, David@offthehooksports.com. And we want to get to this day in sports history because there are all kinds of good things to learn on this day in sports history.
This day in sports history. Putting things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFratta.
New Kids on the Block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
I don't usually do birthdays, but what an eclectic group. Tommy Lee, drummer for Motley Crue. That was my first concert, by the way. It was Motley Crue in Thompson Bowling Arena.
Really?
And yeah, and he had been cited the concert before in another city, not to moon people at the end of the show, which he always did. And at the end of the show, he did it again in Knoxville and got cited or arrested or whatever the term would be. But it was super cool because I'm sure you've seen the video where he has the spinning drum kit. It's a spin, like it spins 360, it spins over and over. So that was the concert before I saw him. So to match it, imagine this in Thompson Bowling Arena. They would never allow this to happen. His drum kit was hung from the very top of Thompson Bowling Arena and he's playing the drums, and it would go back and forth from one end of Thompson Bowling Arena to the other. Does anybody else out there remember that? It was unbelievable. So, like, even though we had terrible tickets and we were on the upper deck at Thompson Bowling, at one point I could have hit Tommy Lee with a football.
You should have.
You're not a fan?
No.
The origin of the I know too much about you kind of tape. And then Dave Winfield is 71 today. Dave Winfield, one of the best athletes that we don't talk about. He actually could have probably, I think he was drafted in the NFL. I think he was drafted in Major League Baseball. Oh, I know he's drafted in Major League. And I think he was an NBA prospect as well. And yeah, you talk about a great all-around athlete. Maybe like a poor man's Bo Jackson, so to speak. He could do it all. Just natural, incredible ability. And then lastly, Gwen Stefani is 53. That makes me feel incredibly old.
Wow.
Gwen Stefani in general, thumbs up, thumbs down.
She's my first CD, no doubt. Tragic Kingdom, when there were CDs back then, kids.
Really? So when did you buy that CD?
I don't know. It was bought for me. I didn't buy it. It was 2 CDs. I got them the very same time. And it was in Easter baskets, which is random. But it was Gwen Stefani is no doubt Tragic Kingdom and the Spice Girls. So if you want to go on music. Yeah. I have a This Day in Sports History, by the way.
Oh, okay. What do you got?
Yeah, it's yesterday's, though. It's going to be from yesterday.
It's fine. By the way, I always, if I may, that No Doubt should have named their albums after the different band members, because this would be unique. Other bands can't do this because they're all male, but they could name the albums after each band member that Gwen Stefani had slept with. Go ahead. This she kind of ran.
It's early on a Monday, Dave. On a Monday.
So one of the songs is about it.
It was somebody she dated.
No,
it was a band member.
It's about his band member. It's about a band member. I promise.
Yeah, I know. They dated. They were like engaged.
I know, but how uncomfortable would that be? All right, we've got a 160 stop tour, and I've got to do Don't Speak in front of you and all these thousands of people. Yeah. And yeah.
But she also ended up singing a song about how it was great that they went their separate ways and they see each other and they're happy for each other and yada, yada, yada. Anyway. So.
On to the bassist. Go ahead.
Dear God. Okay. So This Day in Sports History as of yesterday, Antonio Brown posts photo of him and Giselle gleefully hugging on Instagram, alluding to the fact that he is the problem in their marriage.
That guy.
Giselle and Tom's marriage.
Okay. So we'll end where we began brain injuries matter.
Head trauma.
And I still think the Vontez, I can't remember, Perfect. I can't remember his last name.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. That hit changed things
For Antonio Brown.
I
don't know, because he was that way in college, and people don't remember that because he wasn't well known then.
Well, then he went from goofy to super goofy. Nutrition World is where you need to go for all of your supplements. Nutrition World, all you have to do is click on one of their ads on our website. Nutrition World, it has the e-commerce store where you can purchase it all right there and be taken care of. Know that you'll get great service and know that you can buy all your supplements there at the best price. And they're the best supplements. They are absolutely uncovering the cause. If you feel that your mind and your body are not currently operating optimally, Nutrition World is for you. They've got all the supplements you could possibly need, and they are fantastic. So that is Nutrition World. Have a great day, everyone. This is a presentation